Game week 4 was a really interesting week. Manchester City picked up their 4th win in a row. Chelsea dropped points at home. Their fans must be feeling some deja vu. Arsenal smacked Manchester United but almost lost. And Liverpool kept a clean sheet. The sky must be falling. This week was wild. Let's jump right into the analysis. Chelsea lost 1-0 at home to Nottingham Forest. I couldn't believe that Nicholas Jackson missed that sitter from Raheem Sterling. What was he thinking? All he had to do was tap it in. It was an empty net, bro. Come on, man. But it is what it is. This is what happens sometimes when strikers come to the Premier League. Sometimes the lights are just too bright for some people. But you know what? I really do believe in Nicholas Jackson. I see what he brings to the table. He's really strong with link-up play. He's really athletic, strong in the air, and I feel like he has a lot of great physical traits, but right now his conversion rate just leaves a lot to be desired, and this is what happens. A lot of Chelsea players, there's just a lack of team chemistry. They're not all on the same page, and I feel like you just have to give them time to get to the level that we expect of them. And so it's just understandable because Chelsea are rebuilding and they're going to be inconsistent. But one thing that really bothers me about Pochettino's tactics is that he actually subs off Ben Chilwell whenever they're losing. Poch, if you think about any of the players in your team, how many of them would make it into a Premier League 11? Almost none of them except Chilwell and Reece James. So it's crazy to think that you would want to sub off one of them, but that's what he's thinking because he's playing Chilwell on the left wing. And so the next question that I ask myself is Chilwell a great FPL pick if he's not making 60 minutes? And I think the answer to that is still yes, because if the fixtures are good, he's getting into that left wing position very often. And even though the clean sheets may not be there if he's subbed off early, he'll still get more attacking returns and expected statistics than any other defender in the game. So Chilwell's a great option for me long term. I'm more just concerned about Raheem Sterling and Nicholas Jackson. Their returns are expected to be intertwined. If one's doing well, the other's going to do well on top of that, but I'm not sure if I believe in them scoring 2 or 3 goals every single game. They're just going to be going through a rebuilding phase, and honestly, Nicholas Jackson really gives me Darwin Núñez vibes, where the expected statistics are coming at him, but he's just not finishing them off right now, and I'm sure he'll put them away, but how long are you going to be patient with an FPL asset like that in your team? I guess they have good fixtures though, because you know what? They have Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Fulham, and Burnley. So I'm sure if I had him in my team, I'd just hold, but it's a tough hold when you see other strikers doing well. And one player I really want to call out is Raheem Sterling. Bro, you were never a superstar player, but when you were at Liverpool, when you were at Manchester City, you could take a game by the scruff of its neck and win it for your team. Now it's your time to be the star man. Let's find out if you're him. Next, we're moving on to the game of the weekend, Arsenal versus Manchester United. You know what? I was really expecting Arsenal to come out with the win this weekend because you know what? They're coming off the back of a season where they dominated for most of the season and then they bottled it at the end. So I was expecting them to come to Manchester United and get the win. Look at Manchester United's squad. Shaw was injured, Varane was injured, Mount was out. There's no way Arsenal were going to drop points, right? Well, in the first half, it was actually really even. There's just something about Arsenal where they're just not clicking from an attacking perspective because I'm just so used to them scoring 2 or 3 goals every single game, but I'm not sure if it's because Gabriel Jesus is not in the squad or if it's because Havertz is playing in a different role. And I think those are 2 different issues because whenever Nketiah plays, there's not as much link-up play with the other players like Saka and Martinelli. There's not as much player rotation in terms of the front line. And on top of that, Havertz isn't really a creator. I'm not really sure what Arteta sees in the qualities that he brings to a team. He's not really creating, making progressive passing. The one thing he does bring to a team is he works hard and he likes to finish. He becomes a second striker. But I feel like that takes away from what Martinelli can bring to a team. And so I feel like if you have Martinelli in your FPL team, I think he's just a bitter sell because you know what? Havertz is taking away some of the opportunities away from him. But maybe with Gabriel Jesus' fitness right around the corner, maybe that could be a spark to Martinelli's season. But for now, he's been pretty quiet. I can't even lie. But of course, Rashford had to step up. It had to be on their counterattack when there was lots of space in behind. Somebody put the ball in behind to Rashford and boom, he's onto it in a flash, cuts it onto the right foot. You knew what he was going to do. He took the shot. Ramsdale touches it off, but he can't save it enough and it goes into the back of the net. typical Marcus Rashford. Like, even when Manchester United are just under the cosh, he'll find a way to get some sort of return for the team. Like, he's such a team player, such a talisman, absolute monster, and it's exactly what I expect of him. It's like last season they were really built around Bruno, built around Ronaldo, and now that Ronaldo's gone, it's like, this is Rashford's team. Like, he's him. You can see that, and the expected statistics are all going to float on Marcus Rashford. I feel like if we're holding him in FPL, I feel like he's a really strong hold. The fixtures over the next 7 to 10 weeks are incredible, and even though Manchester United didn't play well, I'm sure they'll play better in other games. You're not going to play Arsenal every single week. But, of course, it was that guy, Declan Rice, the man they spent so much money on, that got the winner. He's worth every single penny. And on top of that, I'm hearing rumors that Thomas Partey's out for the next 3 months. Last season, if this happened, who would you have as a replacement? Jorginho? Man, Declan Rice is 2 times the player Jorginho is right now. So Arsenal fans, you're about to find out how great of a player Declan Rice is. I mean, last season he was West Ham's best player, bar none. So you guys are so lucky to have that depth this season. With the icing on the cake, Gabriel Jesus got subbed on and got the winner. The way that he just took that fake shot on his left foot and brought it onto his right foot. I mean, that chance went from a 0.25 expected goal opportunity to a 0.75 expected goal opportunity. And that's what classy players do. When you have good, like, world-class players in your team, you're going to end up winning games because of moments like that. And you know what? I can't wait to see if Arsenal are going to go on this title run. But the fact that they dropped points at home last weekend to Fulham really leaves me disappointed. But I'm happy that Arsenal got the win. They deserved it. Manchester United, man, in big games, you're just not playing the way that I expect you to play. And maybe it's a lack of quality in the squad, or maybe it's the tactics, but something's just not right with Manchester United right now. And I really do struggle to see how they make the top 4 this season, especially given the fact that I think Liverpool are back. They didn't create as many expected goals as Chelsea, but it was away from home. So getting a draw at Chelsea is a good result, I'd say, especially in the first game of the season. But then to come home and win 3 games on the trot. Bournemouth, you were expected to win, you got the win. Then you play Newcastle away from home. That could have been a really tough place to play because St. James's Park, the atmosphere there, the way that Newcastle have been playing last season, they're a legitimate threat to make top 4. And you know what? When Liverpool got that red card, I thought the game was over, man. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, that tackle from Van Dijk was clean. Like, he got the ball, but he went through the man, and so it was definitely a card. I thought it was pretty harsh to give a red, but then, you know what? It is a goal-scoring opportunity, so I understand that because he was the last man, but that's a harsh red. But to come out of that game with a win, I couldn't believe that, bro. And then to top it off, the next game, they go home and keep a clean sheet. Okay, like, Liverpool, you literally got to just imagine that they're back. Like, I really just got to be honest with you, because this midfield is just completely different than where it was last season. You're basically replacing Fabinho and Henderson with McAllister and Szoboszlai. The creativity of those 2 players, it's just refreshing to watch. And I feel like what this does as a team is it may make us more porous defensively, but we're going to score a lot of goals. And you know what? It just lowers the burden, I feel like, on the creativity that was needed from Trent last season. And that creativity is just spread throughout the team. And on top of that, this just creates more opportunities for Mo Salah. You know what? Last season, I think Salah had a barren run for like 5 to 6 games where he didn't even get a shot on target. That is never going to happen this season. Liverpool have way too much creativity now for that to happen. I feel like this is the revival of Liverpool. You may not believe it right now, but over the next couple games, I feel like Liverpool really have the opportunity to stamp their authority on a title run this season. Like, that's how great we've been playing. Like, I watched Liverpool play for the last 5 seasons, and I feel like when we're purring, I can just tell. And it's just so much balance in the squad, you know? Like, we have a world-class keeper, world-class defenders. The only issue with our squad is just going to be that holding CDM position. Like, can Endo play in the big games and fill in that role? That's going to be the key question, but attacking wise, we're going to have no issues. Like, over the past 10 games, Mo Salah has a goal or an assist in all of them. And there's no other player in the Premier League that's been on a streak like this before, apart from Mo Salah himself in 2021. Like, that's how great Mo Salah is. You know, you would expect Haaland to have had like a goal or an assist in 10 straight games last year, right? But he didn't. And it's crazy because this season, you know, he doesn't have KDB putting chances on a plate for him. So I feel like this could be a great opportunity to really back against Haaland, maybe, especially when the fixtures turn. But I don't know if I have the guts for that right now. But so far, you know what? Liverpool have been very impressive. And the thing is with Mo Salah is that he's talismanic. He contributes to 37% of all the goals under Jurgen Klopp. Like, he's just that guy. But I feel like as great as he is, he's still underrated. Like last season, he didn't even make it to the PFA Team of the Season last year. And Mo Salah put up more goals and assists than Bukayo Saka. But of course, Arsenal are the surprise package. And maybe Mo is just a victim of his own greatness, We just hold him to higher standards. So that could be one of the reasons he wasn't there. But I just think Liverpool are going to be back. They're going to be in the top 4 race, no doubt about it in my mind. Especially given the fact that in Europa League, I'm expecting Klopp to just play the backups. Like, I expect Joe Gomez and Matip to be starting in those matches. Like, expect players that are not first 11 to be there. And I feel like the first 11 will be well rested for the Premier League. I mean, we've seen Klopp in the Europa League previously. He only really plays the starting 11 in the knockout stages or towards the end of the competition. And so it's interesting because in the Premier League this year, it's not just the top 4 that make the Premier League. It's the top 5 that'll make the Champions League. So I feel like the best is really yet to come. Like, our fixtures have been pretty tough. Like Newcastle, Aston Villa, Chelsea. To pick up 3 wins and a draw, like, wow. Like, we're back this year. Whether you believe it or not, you're going to find out soon. And that's kind of what leads me into this idea of, from game week 8 onwards, we're just looking at Manchester City's fixtures and they're pretty tough. Arsenal away, Brighton, Manchester United away, Bournemouth, that's easy. Chelsea away, Liverpool at home, Spurs at home, Aston Villa away. It's like, these are tough fixtures for Manchester City. So over this fixture run, is Haaland still going to be the Perma cap? And I feel like this could be a great opportunity to jump on somebody like Mo Salah. And the fixtures are just so great. Like, it kind of dovetails almost perfectly with Everton, Nottingham Forest, Luton, Fulham, Sheffield. Like, these are great fixtures. But if you're going to go against somebody like Haaland, you can't just rely on one player. You really do need every single thing to be set up perfectly. And I think you can't just rely on Mo Salah. There has to be someone else that you can rely on too. And you know what? They raised their hand this weekend, and it was Heung-Min Son. You know what? I've really asked myself, like, is Son essential in FPL? Because you know what? In the first 3 games, he was on the left wing. He was almost non-existent. But in the 4th game, they played a newly promoted side. They put Son up top. And you know what he did? He scored 3 goals from 1.2 XG. Like, that's just what Sonny does. Like, he's an elite finisher. His conversion rate is better than almost all of the players in the world. And so when he did things like that, it doesn't really surprise me. I have really high standards for Son, and this is just what I expect of him. In fact, the thing that makes Son so elite is that he never really had penalties. That was always Kane's responsibility. But now it's like Maddison has kind of replaced Kane, and now that means that Maddison's going to be on the free kicks, Maddison's on the corners, taking those away from Son. So it really does seem like, to me, Son should be on the pens, right? And that was kind of backed up with Postecoglou's quote, which was, Sonny is up there. I think Matters and Richarlison are sort of in there. Basuma I've seen take about 500 and miss about 495, but he is still out there practicing. So I don't know, but it's somewhere in that order. I feel like he's just being coy. Like, I feel like those penalties are Son's for sure. There's no way Maddison comes into the team, looking at the packing order and just takes the pens. I mean, think about it. Son and Kane have been the face of Spurs for the past 4 to 5 years. Now that Kane's gone, it does seem like that should be Son's responsibility. So now we're looking at somebody that is a historical overperformer, right? Like in 2022, he had an XG of 10 and scored 10 goals. In 2021, he had an XG of 17 and scored 23 goals. And in 2020, he had an XG of 11 and scored 17 goals. Like, he's overperforming his statistics, and he'll be on penalties. On top of that, Spurs don't have European football. Like, that's how terrible they were last season. And the thing with Son is that I don't really feel like his best position is on the wing. Like, cutting in and shooting into the far corner, I don't feel like that is actually playing to his strengths. Like, the best thing about Son is that he's like a number 9, where it's like Kane would drop deeper and play those balls in behind to Son, where he could run onto it and just finish it, like, without really thinking too much. Like, he's just so clinical. And I feel like when he plays up top, they just need to be able to keep the ball on the ground, pass it around, and create chances. And the way that Spurs have been playing, it's really surprising. Like, they're playing great attacking football. Like, Postecoglou has really gone in and changed the culture there. It's been a breath of fresh air. I'm sure it's been for all of the players that are there and a lot of the staff. So they're playing great football, and I feel like Son is actually a legitimate captaincy contender going forward. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. And to me, I'm thinking, like, how quickly do I get Son in? Because when I look at their fixtures going forward, it's like they have Sheffield United in game week 5. Then they play Arsenal, then they play Liverpool. So is he a must-have for those games? I'm not sure, because I feel like when he plays Sheffield United, they're just going to sit much deeper. I'm not sure if that game is well suited to Son, but when we come to Luton and Fulham, I feel like those are just great fixtures for Son, especially given the fact that Man City are going to be playing Arsenal and Brighton. Like, those are tougher games. So this could be a great opportunity to bet against somebody like Haaland and actually captain somebody like Son. Like, that's kind of where my mind is like, is Haaland the best player in the league? Yes. Will he score points? Yes. Is he essential right now? Yes. But will he be essential from game week 8? I don't know. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is like, you know what, last season, my biggest lesson that I learned was that I needed to captain Haaland more. I only captained him 20 times last year, but I'm coming into this phase now where I don't know if I really want Haaland to be my captain because he's 14.0. And it's not that Haaland's not going to return in these games. I'm expecting him to get a goal in every single one of these games, even if through his tough fixtures, but it's the opportunity cost, man. Like, imagine having like Watkins up there and then spending the rest of the money spreading it around, like getting somebody like Trippier, getting Alisson, getting Son, getting Salah. It's like, imagine a midfield where you're stacked with double Arsenal, Salah, Saka, and like Son, or maybe Madison, or maybe both. Like, there's just so many opportunities, and I feel like the opportunity cost of keeping Haaland just feels too great to me right now, given how great Son can be. So let's just take a look and see that who would we want to captain from game week 8 onwards. So I would definitely captain Haaland for 5, 6, 7. We reviewed that already. And now it's like, okay, I'm coming into game week 8. I think I'm going to be leaning towards like a Son captaincy in game week 8. In game week 9, I'd probably be debating between Son versus Fulham at home and Liverpool versus Everton away. I would probably go with Mo Salah because I'm a Liverpool fan, and I'd always just back Mo Salah over anyone else in the league. So I would probably go Mo Salah for Everton, Forest, Luton, and then it just comes down to game 12 and 13, because 14 and 15 I'll be back on Mo. But 12 and 13 is really that situation is like, who do I go for captaincy? And you know what? The fact that Saka did take the penalty really just puts his hand up to be a potential captaincy option again. So for game week 12, I could be going for somebody like Saka as a potential captain, or even somebody like Bruno or Rashford. But in game week 13, it's like, it has to be a Manchester United asset, because I would never captain somebody versus Man City or Brentford or Aston Villa. So in 13, it would have to be Rashford or Fernandes. If I believe that Haaland is the player to bet against in FPL, because I do want to have a well-balanced team, then that's kind of the captaincy route that I would go with. But I'm still undecided. Like, I really do feel like Haaland is one of the best players in the league. But if I'm going to play FPL and I'm going to play it my way, my instinct is really leading me towards this path of, you know what, like, Haaland isn't a set and forget option. In fact, I don't feel like anyone is a set and forget option. Like, as great of an option as I think Saka is, you know, maybe you can get rid of him. You know, because like, if you think about it, like, Saka has like Man City, Chelsea, Sheffield, and then Newcastle. Like, what if you just choose to like bet against him? Maybe bring in somebody like a Son for Luton and Fulham, Crystal Palace and Chelsea. Like, there are opportunities to bet against players, and I feel like this season it has to be more of like a cutthroat mentality where if somebody's not returning, you just have to sell them, because there's so many other great players that are performing in the midfield, specifically in the midfield. I feel like in defense and up top, you can just be more patient because there aren't that many returns in those positions anyway, right? Just moving on from the Captaincy Matrix, I really just want to go through how I did in FPL last week. So last week was an absolute blessing. Like, I feel so happy with the way that things have gone over the beginning of the season. Not just with my rank, I'm more happy about the transfers that I've made. Like, in game week 2, I went from Shaw to Chilwell. I feel like that was a great move. Then the next move I made was I brought Julian Alvarez in game week 3 for Ollie Watkins, and I feel like that was another great move. It didn't pay off though. In game week 3, it didn't pay off because the template move was to bring in Nicholas Jackson. And you know what? Jackson returned that week, and I was feeling so much FOMO. But now that I'm here, coming into game week 4, Julian Alvarez absolutely smashed it. I'm feeling so great. And as great as Alvarez has done, I feel like he still owes me, bro. Because last week he earned the pen for Haaland, and Haaland missed it. Like, I'm sure there was no one in the world that really cared if Haaland scored that penalty or not. Because, you know, his ownership is like 195%. Like, basically, it really doesn't matter as long as you captained him. But I was one of the few people that I actually cared about that penalty. And so I was just really glad that Alvarez finally came in with the points. And this week, my transfer was Madison in for Martinelli. And Martinelli actually finally got a return in FPL, but, it's all good because Madison returned too. And I didn't really think that transfer would pay off right now. I'm more concerned about how it pays off over the next 4 to 5 weeks when Spurs have Luton and Fulham coming up. I really just wanted to have some sort of piece of that Spurs points that are coming up. And I just feel like Madison's so talismanic. So I feel like that's a great move long term, especially given the fact that Madison's on so many set pieces. He's going to tick along like no problem. I feel like I want to address some of the issues in my squad though. Like Johnston, Chilwell, Estupiñán, Saliba, like these guys didn't return at all. If I had a better bench, I feel like I would be able to rotate some of my defenders in and out. But my bench is just so far planned for the future. Like I really had an idea to just wildcard as late as possible that I wasn't able to rotate anyone in. In fact, I was expecting Game Week 4 to be the biggest red arrow. I mean, think about it. Like I had Saliba versus Manchester United. And I had Estupiñán versus Newcastle. Like I didn't expect clean sheets. And I was expecting the template to just get some defensive returns. But what happens is that like there's just no clean sheets in the entire league. So even if people had a better, more optimal setup defensively, they didn't get any returns. So I'm just sitting here like, wow, if I just focus on my attacking, making sure that I'm getting the right points in my attack, I should be fine over the course of the season. So that's kind of where my mind is right now. So moving into next week, I really just want to make sure that my attack looks great. So I've got Madison versus Sheffield United at home, Saka versus Everton, Rashford and Fernandes versus Brighton. Now, Brighton were really, really strong versus Newcastle. I'm not sure if Manchester United are going to get a win, even though they're at home. But I am expecting something for Rashford on the counter because the way that Brighton set up, the right side of their defense is just a gaping hole. Like it's a really big opportunity for Rashford because they play players like Veltman, Milner, like whoever they play in that spot, Rashford is going to beat them for pace like 100% of the time. And the way that Brighton play is that they're always going to push forward. So they're going to leave space in behind for somebody like Rashford. Like I'm really expecting Rashford to get a goal. I don't know if Fernandes will get any opportunities because I feel like they're going to be sitting so deep. Like Brighton are really going to dominate the ball. I'm expecting Brighton to score some goals too, but I know Rashford's going to get something. So I'm not worried about that. And then Man City are playing against West Ham. You know what, like Haaland got goals in both home and away last season versus West Ham. So I'm not really doubting Haaland. If Haaland's in my squad, I'm always going to be captaining him. He's so expensive and he just provides so much consistency. You don't have to worry about captaincy at all. And Julian Alvarez, he's my star, man. All you got to do from now until, when I get rid of you is going to be just match Nicholas Jackson. That's all you got to do. And I feel like it's not asking too much. Like as great of a player as Jackson is and as great as the fixture runs are, I just feel like Alvarez is one of the best strikers in the league. I feel like he could be a starter for half of the teams. Like that's how good Julian Alvarez is. I mean, look at his trophy cabinet. It's absolutely massive. Like he's so good. And the fact he's priced at 6.5, now 6.7 in FPL is a joke. Like, it's actually a joke. Like, there's an idea in the back of my mind where if Alvarez continues to just get these minutes, I don't think I would ever sell him until KDB comes back. Because he's just such a golden asset in FPL. I mean, he's covering Haaland for 6.5. And if he continues to play like this, I will for sure be looking to sell Haaland and just keep Alvarez for as a safety blanket, giving me coverage of Man City. Alvarez is becoming this secondary shadow striker. And because Phil Foden is so versatile, at times he'll find himself in that cam position. Sometimes he'll find himself on the left wing, on the right wing, but they just need that direct goal threat to play alongside Haaland. And Rodri isn't going to be that guy. Kovacic isn't going to be that guy. And so they need to have somebody like Alvarez playing in that role. And they don't have really many backups. Manchester City's squad is actually really thin up top. Like they have the KDB injury, Gundogan's gone, Mars is gone. It's like, there's a lot of opportunity, and I just feel like Alvarez could just be a season-long hold at this point, but the minutes will dictate what I do. If he starts to lose minutes throughout Champions League and we're seeing him come on for 60 minutes, 30 minutes, only getting the minutes when Haaland subbed, like if things like that start to happen, Alvarez will be gone out of my team really quickly, but I don't think that'll happen. I think he's earned Pep's trust last season. I mean, he got a goal and an assist in every single one of his starts last season, and he's doing that this season already, so I'm sure it's just going to continue. He averaged 6 FPL points per match last year, and he's averaging, I think, 7 or 8 now. Like, Alvarez is actually a monster. If you don't own him, he's got to be on your watch list, especially at that value. Lastly, I really like the way my defense looks this week. Saliba playing Everton away, That's a great opportunity for a clean sheet. My Aston Villa defender, Konza, I think he's a really great shout, by the way. Like, Konza himself is a really great differential. He doesn't have the attacking upside of somebody like Matty Cash or even Luka Dean or Alex Moreno, but I just feel like he's nailed. He's going to be playing that right back spot if Matty Cash isn't favored at the time, or he's going to be playing in that right center back spot. So Konza himself is a really great asset. I know Pau Torres could be a great asset for Aston Villa to cover their defense, but I feel like Konza just is more nailed in the squad for minutes. And I just feel like over longer periods of time, I really trust Aston Villa. If you look at their fixtures from game week 8 onwards, Konza is going to be a really great asset to own, and I think having somebody like him from when I start the season is exactly why I won't end up wildcarding early. And then lastly, Ben Chilwell. You know what? He had really great attacking statistics. He put up 0.55 expected goal involvement last week, and he's a defender. I really just trust him. I trust the quality of the player. All I want to do is I want to be able to bench him in game week 6. I know I have Estupiñán playing Bournemouth in game week 6. I have Botman playing Sheffield United in game week 6, but I have to sell either one of Saliba or Chilwell. So both of them are on the chopping block. So I'm just not sure if I'm going to roll the transfer or sell one of them. It really does feel like I should roll the transfer. Like, my team looks really solid right now. The defensive side of it looks great. The offensive side of it looks great. And so I don't feel like it's the right time to sell either Saliba or Chilwell. So my instinct is I will roll the transfer this week, but I'm sitting pretty, I'm at 100K right now and I haven't used any chips. I've got almost 2.0 in the bank, and I have the opportunity to move to somebody like Chilwell or move to somebody like Fabian Schär to cover off a Newcastle defense. I'm not sure which way I want to do it. It really just depends on what I want to do with future transfers, but I really do feel like Trippier is the one for me. I mean, I'm not expecting him to put up 200 points less like he did last season, but I mean, why couldn't he? That's the thing that really just comes into my mind is I do believe in Trippier as an asset, but now with them playing Champions League, is he potentially going to be rotated more? Probably yes, but maybe what they'll do is they'll just sub him off early. I mean, like, there's no one in the squad that can do the role that he does. Like, it's different with somebody like Fabian Schär or Sven Botman where they have replacements that are there but just not as good. I feel like there's no one in the squad that can do what Chilwell does. And I know Livermento's a great asset, but I just feel like he could be playing in the cup matches. I feel like Trippier is too talismanic to bench. Like, he's on all the set pieces, all the free kicks, all the corners. I just think he's one of the best right backs in the league. So I just want to be there. He put up 12 expected assists last season, and his role hasn't changed. He put up 39 bonus points. That's like 13 returns worth of bonus points. And Newcastle defense, I know it was not that great in the beginning part of the season, but look who they played against. They played Liverpool, they played Man City, they played Brighton, they played Aston Villa. Like, did you expect Newcastle to keep any clean sheets? I sure didn't. Just because they didn't keep clean sheets in the past doesn't mean they will going forward. I really do feel like I want to trust the sample size of what last season showed me over what the first couple games have shown me, and I just have faith in Kieran Trippier. The quality of the player, the quality of the team, I trust the fact that as long as Sven Botman is fit, Newcastle are going to be keeping clean sheets. Like, that's how great of an asset Botman is. And the fact they have Pope in net. Like, I know he was really questionable and he wasn't playing that great, had some questionable moments coming out of the box, but as a shot stopper, Pope is elite. I've seen it over the last 4 to 5 seasons in FPL, so I have no doubt about that. And listen, I'm a fan of Kieran Trippier, and so he's definitely coming in. But deciding between Saliba and Chilwell, we'll have to see. But for this week specifically, my team looks great. I'm really hoping for another green arrow, and as terrible as my team looked last week, I got a green arrow. So you expect that, coming to this week, I would get a green arrow for sure, right? That's just not how FPL works. So let's see how it goes, but I'm optimistic, and we got to take it one game week at a time. If I provided some value to you, please drop a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all again soon. Peace.